Welcome back. We're here to talk about Saturday's Premier League match between Sunderland and Stoke. Pascal, will start with the home side. Absolutely huge victory against Crystal Palace on Monday night.
Absolutely massive, yeah. I think going into that game, even though Palace usually better away from home than they are at home, even then you would have thought Sunderland was a really tough ask for them to get anything from that game. You know, the weekend before Palace, 2 weeks ago, they'd beaten Liverpool away at Anfield, so that was really impressive from them. But for Sunderland to go there, defend like they did really stoutly. Palace didn't really create that much at all. They tried to test Pantilimon, but he actually had a really good game in goal. Dealt with a lot of crosses they sent in there, and then they got their goal. They took their chance when it came. Scott Dan, I'm not quite sure what he was thinking in that kind of situation. There's just no point to take a risk. You know, give them a throw in. You know, somewhere in your own half of the pitch. It's only a throw, and they're not going to do that much from there. But the way he tried to shepherd it back to Hennessy, and then Defoe, he was just too clever there. He sort of feinted to go one way, nipped in the other way, got the ball away, and stuck it away. And obviously that was a huge goal for Sunderland. You know, in recent weeks they'd back-to-back defeats. You know, lost to Southampton, Everton. But certainly that result massive. Then just their second clean sheet of the season as well, and 2 in their last 4 games after going 10 in the league without one. So defensively they're looking a bit more solid since they lost 6-2 to Everton, which was obviously a bad result there. And then the only goal they conceded against Southampton in the game before was that silly penalty that Mvila gave away. So in the last couple of games since obviously Everton put 6 past them, they're looking a bit more solid defensively, and yeah, that was, like you said, a massive win for them.
Yeah, and it takes them up to 18th in the table, leapfrog Bournemouth there. Home form is still an issue for them. They've only won 1 Premier League home game all season. I mean, if they were to choose a home game to win this season, it would have been that one against Newcastle, 3-0 as well. It looks like a pretty convincing victory, but in reality it wasn't that convincing. They were second best for the first half completely. Colaccini got sent off, conceded a penalty in the first half stoppage time, I think it was, and from that point on it was always going to be difficult for Newcastle. They still created chance in the second half, and Sunderland, they didn't look entirely comfortable, certainly not as comfortable as the final scoreline suggested, so it was flattering to them, that 3-0 victory, their only home league victory of the season so far. So even that win was, they could do better than that. They need to do better at home, because if you're struggling against relegation, that's where the bulk of your points are going to need to come. I think Allardyce helping defensively as he has done since he's come in, with the exception of that Everton one, will certainly help that at home as well. There's obviously more onus on them to attack at home than there is away, but still defensively is going to be the main thing for them, to keeping them solid. They have got a tough run of fixtures coming up before the end of the year. Arsenal, Chelsea, Man City and Liverpool, all to come before 2016 starts, before the new year. So it's a very difficult end to the year, and considering they're in the relegation zone now, it's hard to see them climbing out of that relegation zone before 2016. But as I say, the home form is where they need to improve. Aston Villa are the only team to have picked up fewer points in front of their own fans so far this season, so that's where they need to start, I think.
Yeah, you mentioned those sort of 4 teams coming up after this game, but I'd say Stoke here is a really tough game in itself, because Stoke have been in really good form recently. You know, last week going and winning at Southampton. You know, Southampton usually very good at home. I think Southampton, they were unbeaten in 8 going into that game, and for Stoke to go there, score the early goal like they did through Boyan, and then just hold on for the rest of it. You know, they did deserve the win. Southampton really struggled to create much against them there, and considering the amount of quality attacking players Southampton have got, for Stoke, who obviously in recent weeks been doing very well defensively, for them to do what they did there, keep a clean sheet, excellent performance. They're still in the bottom half, but just 2 points off 6th now. We've already mentioned it, that there's a lot of teams between, say, I think West Ham in 6th, and then where Stoke are down in 11th. They could easily change about this weekend, so I think they're looking pretty good, Stoke, and yeah, only lost 1 of their last 8 Premier League games since they lost 2-0 to Arsenal on September the 12th, and that was that really surprising defeat to Watford at home, which no one really saw coming that day. So that was a blip, but apart from that, really good recently from Stoke.
Yeah, and you mentioned their defensive record there. That's really where all this good form has been born from. They've kept clean sheets in each of the last 3 Premier League games, in 5 of their last 6. There is a question going forward about them. They haven't scored more than once in a game for over 2 months now, so they need to improve in the final third. Only Aston Villa have scored fewer in the whole league. Stoke have only managed 11 goals in their 13 games so far this season, so that will be a concern. But defensively, Stoke were always, since they came up to the Premier League, considered a very solid team at the back. Mark Hughes sort of changing that, with more passing than there was under the Pulis reign, more of an attacking threat, but this season it certainly has been built on a sturdy defence. They got the best defence outside the top 5 this season, actually, with only 12 goals conceded. Only Manchester United, Arsenal and Tottenham can better that record, so defensively things are looking very sound, and on a very good run of clean sheets away from home as well.
They are, yeah, like you said, they're unbeaten in the last 5 away games in all competitions and kept clean sheets in all of those. That's a tremendous record, including the League Cup as well. They've got the quarter-final coming up, which is obviously a good chance this year to maybe get to the final, maybe win their first trophy since 1972. I think certainly the mood at the club seems really good at the moment, but we talked there about Sunderland having some tough games coming up. Stoke are the same. They'd view this one against Sunderland as a very winnable game, maybe get into the top half, but then Their last 5 games of sort of the half season running up to the new year, they've got City, West Ham, Crystal Palace, Manchester United, Everton, all teams currently in the top half. But some of those, like Palace, West Ham, they're the sort of teams above them at the moment that they'll want to leapfrog and take their place in the top half, really. So looking really good. Only lost 1 of their last 6 away games in the Premier League, won 3 and lost none of the last 4. Kept clean sheets in the last 4. That's their best run in the top 5 since 1969-1970. So the way they're playing away from home at the moment, very, very solid. You said, their attack needs to improve, but if they're defending this well, nicking the odd goal, you'd probably say their attack doesn't need to improve that much because teams can't score against them.
And which way do you see this one going?
Yeah, I've got to say Stoke here. Sunderland, it was a really good result on Monday against Palace. Should give them a big confidence boost, but the way Stoke are playing, we've talked so much about their defence. All the stats regarding Stoke's defence at the moment are just tremendous. So I think Stoke will edge this 1-1-0.
It's quite a difficult one to call, I think. Like you, I don't think there's going to be too many goals. I wouldn't be too surprised if Sunderland nicked a draw. I was thinking of going for a 1-0 Stoke win, but I think I'm going to go for a draw here. I'm going to go for 1-1. So we're going for 1 draw and a Stoke victory. Thanks for joining us.